Greetings, my fellow female self-integrators. LL3's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangrove South Florida. And today's date is Monday, April 30th, 2018. I wish you a happy birthday to a friend of mine, Scott Walker. Getting up there, my brother. Make sure your holiday's a great one. Enjoy the sun, the beach, and your family. All right, you ought to be proud. Just keep it real. Yeah, so just browsing, checking out yesterday about the big migrant caravan that was going to try to hop over the border of San Diego around the beach line. And you got some people saying, oh, refugees, welcome, this and that. And it's not actually not from Mexico. They're from the Central American area, like Honduras and so forth, because I know I've seen some of the flags are waving. It doesn't really look Mexican to me. And I know a lot of stuff has been happening down there too, like with some political issues and people being murdered, and many folks saying they shouldn't be coming in here and they're being targeted racist. That's a typical baseless defense mechanized rhetoric. What you're seeing is a potential invasion, regardless what they look like, and that's why when they talk about having the troops come in and protect the borders, which is guaranteed under Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. And of course, you got many others saying, make America brown again, you white people go back to Europe. It's the same old witch hunting agenda, part of the Club of Rome program. Like you see in the European Union, they were trying to make more official that the United States, Canada, and Mexico as a North American Union, which was actually signed by, at the time, Canadian Prime Minister Paul Martin, President George W. Bush, and at the time, too, Mexican President Vicente Fox, which was entitled SPP, and Security and Prosperity Program. It's called SPP. And it's very dangerous because I remember they had that website, spp.gov, and they talked about the NAFTA superhighway and all that. So this is just another example because even just watched an investigative report on it and got actual documentation pertaining to the North American Union, and one of them is mass illegal immigration. So this doesn't matter because even Mexico has this immigration problem as well. It's happening around the world, my friends, even in Africa, too, just to give you those examples. And many of course, folks are, I call it being indoctrinated, brainwashed. Like Pol Pot tells the children of Khmer Rouge, it's the parents' fault for the conditions in your country. You got to torture them, kill them. Same motive, different package. Same thing over here. Want to blame the white man for everything. It's like this time they want to blame the black man for everything, and they want to blame one ethnic group, etc. It's like the same old song and dance. They want us spinning on our wheels, fight amongst each other, so we can all be ruled to benefit their one world order agenda. That's how I see it. Why? Because I took the time to read these things. No, I think I'm better than everybody else. It's out there. The information's out there. It's called Security and Prosperity Partnership. That's the SPP, Security and Prosperity Partnership. And I know the SPP.gov site has been taken off because they got a lot of kind of backlash on that as well. It blew back in their faces. And it was funny because I remember some people, go to the New York Times, it's not like that. I'm like, no, just read the damn site yourself, you bunch of knuckleheads. I'm like, good grief. But this is what's been happening. Because look what happened the time when President Trump talked about doing a lockdown or roundup on illegal immigration. Many of them fled to Canada. Now the Canadians are complaining about it. Like I said, this is part of the North American Union platform, which is equivalent under the Club of Rome, a New World Order agenda. That's why you have to always look at things in a bigger picture. information's out there. I know there's a lot of censorship going on the internet, and the conservative sites are getting shafted by Facebook and Twitter, which is irrelevant because I am pro free speech across the board. Even these Charlton groups can have the same rights as everyone else, which is their natural born right. If you want to talk about subversify stuff and be a clown, hey, don't go knock yourselves out. But doesn't mean I'm gonna go there and complain. If we make certain threats on people, then it's gonna be an issue. So I was trying to even get some stuff on FloridaBulldog.org in reference to 9/11. It looks like stuff being declassified. Well, the Trump chief wanted to get things declassified on 9/11. And it looks like they'll be having donation issues. So you hit the Facebook page, go under FloridaBulldog.org under Facebook. That would be greatly appreciated. Just give them a little love. They're great articles, and I have to give them credit, but they'd be getting concurrent discrepancies, I would say. Lack of funding. So please, donate money to them. They're based out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and they go after everybody, just like Judicial Watch. So go with folks that are not partisan biased. It's just attack all forms of tyranny. All right. Well, speaking of a few things here, definitely want to talk about what I read today. Oh yeah, just to let you folks know, I am at podcasting this show at Cafe Collective. Cafe Collective. It's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. How nice. It's located at 100 North Federal Highway, Section C43. It's in this nice, I forgot the name of the building, but you can't miss it. It's across the street from Robbins Chiropractic, west side of that. Little mom and pop facility. So, hey, check it out. Tell them Local Third Century. They have a phone number, 754-312-2988. I am going to leave their Facebook page on my footnotes, so please check it out. Give them a little love. Better than the corporate chain across the street. I won't say any names. All right, so speaking of September 11th, I recall talking about this Bobby McIlvaine World Trade Center Investigation Act. And this is by David Kidd under newsreviews.com. And as it reads here, 16 years after September 11, 2001, more and more Americans are beginning to question the official account on that day tragic event. As awareness and skepticism continue to grow, so too will pressure on Congress to open a new legislation. The Bobby McIlvaine Act, named after a 26-year-old who was killed by an explosion while entering the North Tower, and whose father has an outspoken advocate for a new investigation, will establish a selected committee in Congress to reinvestigate the catastrophic destruction of all three World Trade Center towers. That's Tower 1, 2, and 7. If you remember, 7 came down around 5:25 p.m. on that day. Interesting, right? So I will go further here. I'm going to add Rethink911.org so you can look at it for yourselves. Very powerful stuff, and I recall checking that out. I'm definitely going to put that in my footnotes because it is important for everyone to look at it. On the contrary, I will continue on here. How dare any family member question the official story of what really happened on September 11th? Why anyone who does is ignoring only the truth but hurting the families as well. This is from an email forwarded to me. How inspiring. So the technical difference, okay, I will accept it. You're damning their families if you buy the official narrative, as far as I'm concerned. These buildings did exactly what the original architect designed, and is that is to collapse and not threaten to other structures. There are no explosions and massive thermite stuff that would be held to coordinate with the jet impact. South Tower went first as it was hitting lower, and its collapse formed weight for there being more involved in fire and thus weakening more quickly. The North Tower was also weakened by the collapse to the South Tower. Surely, this is Jones, Fessler, and Dave Griffin stirring shit. One even said to me on the phone that I had a point. Really? A lowly fireman have a point? No, they are liars. Such as yours truly, by even writing this column, which I intended to do before I even received that email thread where one lady accused me of being a bigot for not believing the official story. Bold emphasis mine. Okay, so it was a bunch of Muslims that was responsible for the attack on 9/11. How astute. It's people such as yourself and other authors on sites like NWVs who are responsible for this outrage and misinformation, prolonging the suffering of people and creating suspicion and confusion. I forwarded to you last night was a couple of posts in response to this. My brother, senior FDNY hazmat first responder at the site on 9/11, and one of those expert eyewitnesses, first-hand analysts, was used to draw conclusions about the event. I'm going to assume you read his remark without prejudice and are able to comprehend his analysis and rebuttals of preposterous claims made by these people seeking money and nerve. Never mind his personal conversations with architect of record, a testimony of the architectural engineer and a New Yorker for a project both explaining why and how the buildings collapsed as they designed to do, or the discursive implications by people such as yourself, that all these men will participate in a deliberate obfuscation and cover up the public to the public, as after all, what objective merit do they carry in the face of a group of armchair experts weighed in? You are entirely mistaken about this issue, and it is well past time to change what is a pre-prejudiced and current view, or at least open your mind to possibility of your error. Even the worst liars are found from time to time telling the truth. In this instance, the official narrative from our government is articulate one, or at least there's no verifiable evidence to contradict it. I'm not giving the lady's name who accused of me being a bigot. She suffered her own personal loss from what happened that day, for which I am deeply sorry, but I do take offense at her accusations. And it's true, because something like that, people want us to lay to rest and take the official narrative to make you feel a little better. But in my eyes, a person like myself, I want to know the damn truth. Because if you honor the official narrative, to be good, and I say it's in good faith, all those individuals, 3,000 innocent, beautiful people, died in vain. Many of them too were Middle Easterns too, but Muslims by faith. Just to give you guys a heads up. Especially this one, the disgrace implications by people such as yourself, with all these men would participate in the deliberate obfuscation and cover up to the public. I have never once accused any fireman, police officer, first responder, or any other helper of deliberately trying to distort the truth or involved in any cover-up. They were there. They saw what they saw, but apparently anyone who was there, like other firefighters who saw and heard something different from where they were at the time, are the liars. I'm not responsible for spreading misinformation about 9/11. I've never profited one penny. I don't sell a book on 9/11 or any videos. It costs me serious money on research alone. Dr. Judy Wood has quite a few dedicated followers. If you disagree with her opinion, accept filthy profanity-laced emails, I should know. I ought reject her theory that World Trade Center towers were brought down by direct energy weapons. Architects and engineers, specifically Jonathan Cole, PE, and Richard Gage, AIA, architects and engineers, and Greg Roberts, take it on here. What's your assessment of a direct energy weapon hypothesis? I also encourage you to watch this short video, which Gage answers questions about DEW theory. Judy Wood's opinion on 9/11, contrary to popular belief, closely resemble that of the U.S. government. She denies witnesses to explosions, planes, refuses to test us, and promotes the idea that 9/11 was an outside job. I received my share of profanity-laden emails for not supporting no planes crashing the Twin Towers. It was direct energy attack. It was a hologram. It was a nuclear device. George Bush was behind it. I have never described any of that. See the best DVD on 9/11 cover-up, Anatomy of a Great Deception, General Global Master Edition. Even when I disprove one's conspiracy theories out there about 9/11, I get nasty emails. This one is persistent because no one bothered to get any substantial documentation. I filed a FOIA, and it says 9/11 net rumor finally put to rest. FEMA's prior knowledge to 9/11 put to rest. I filed a lawsuit against FAA over Flight 93. I won and proved Flight 93 did not land in Cleveland with all passengers departing. For that expense of a lawsuit in federal court, I also got nasty emails. This is from my lawsuit update. As soon as I got off the phone, I called Cleveland Hopkins International Airport and was fortunate enough to get the operation manager on the phone. I informed there were no records kept by his department recording flights, incoming or outgoing. I wanted to know what I was looking for. I explained there was some confusion about Flight 93 landing on 9/11. He immediately jumped in with it. It was Delta Flight 1989. He also said conspiracy people had bugged him for years and accused him and other colleagues of lying, which he resented. He recommended I get airport billing records because every plane that lands, whether it's private or commercial, is built for services. Interesting there too. So it makes some sense also. Let's continue on here. Following day, October 4, 2006, I received another phone call from Preamble and McIlvaine, a very carefully worded phone conversation in which Preamble explained they got ahead of themselves and misspoke. Apparently, there were a number of responsive documents. After all, they would see as they could do about setting up someplace where I could view the documents. This was going to be unacceptable to me, but I decided to wait and see what they came back with. On November 13, 2006, I received a phone call from Eric Soskin, attorney for the U.S. Department of Justice. Soskin was very no-nonsense and told me right off the bat that there was no excuse why my FOIA had not been processed in a timely fashion. He had already informed the defendants in my lawsuit their position was a loser, that I was entitled to the documents and could get them to me immediately. I informed Soskins I appreciated, but not to hurry as I was going out of state on the 15th to an investigation. Soskins told me he would have the documents to me the week on November 20th, and true to his word, they arrived FedEx on November 20th, both hard copies and a disc. As I have written and said on my radio many times, it took 18 months to deny before I finally decided I had to bring myself to look at everything about what happened that day. I didn't want to believe me. The same as I did not want to believe the OKC bomb was a cover-up. This thing gone bad by the ATF and cover up by them and the FBI. There are more than 24 videos from around Lauderdale building the day it was blown from inside, yet the FBI refused to release them to this day. One we are all allowed to see shows the truck in front of the building, but was very misleading. If there's nothing to hide, why keep hiding those videos? To this day, the FBI refuses to release all the videos from 9/11, particularly the ones from the Sheraton Hotel and any from the DoubleTree. A bit of footage from a camera at a Pentagon gas station. I know exactly where it was, since I've been there several times. It is so grainy as to be virtually worthless. Except I don't see a commercial jet as government claims. If there's nothing to hide, release all the videos confiscated. Why keep hiding what's on those videos? For 9/11, I start with looking at videos and reading books. Dozens and dozens, as well as written pieces taking 1,000 hours to read. The only other subject matter I spent more time over the past 29 years is the Federal Reserve. It was also overwhelming and terrifying at the same time because I did not want to believe anything other than what I had watched and listened tube for 15 straight hours on boob tube that day. I simply didn't want to know. I am different from millions of others, especially those who suffered personal loss on 9/11 or after. Why do good people become silent or worse about 9/11? By Francis Scher, MALPC, is a series which takes some serious reading time, but really help people understand why so many must cling to the web of lies spun by our government will help with the media. And of course, the video again, on the 9/11 cover-up, Anatomy of Great Deception. To reiterate what I said when interviewed for the 9/11 Experts Speak Out, fear is the emotion that underlies most of the negative reactions toward the facts that 9/11 skeptics bring to light. For receiving information that will turn our world upside down. Fear of being overwhelmed by our own emotions. Fear of psychological deterioration. Fear that our life will have to change. Fear that we will discover that the world is not a safe place. Fear that our professional reputation will be tarnished, which may cause us to lose our job or a promotion. Fear of being shunned, being even banished by friends and families. Fear that we can no longer trust our leaders. Fear of looking like a fool, of having bought the official accounts so thoroughly. Because of this persistent statements that Flight 93 did not crash in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The plane, there is no plane, is one popular mockery of what happened. I've spent $4,400 of my own money to go to Pennsylvania and do my own on-site investigation with the help of a friend who passed away a couple of years ago. He was an appellate attorney and pilot. I wanted Dane there as a witness. There is no question Flight 93 crashed, and that field despite all the speculation. How the plane was brought down is the real issue. 9/11 pilots for truth and architects and engineers for 9/11 truth have been at this for a long time. They are not a bunch of crackpot conspiracy theorists with nothing better to do to get their called names and have their reputation smeared. It's not just those organizations, but highly qualified individuals in other countries who know more about falling buildings, skyscrapers, and fires than I could possibly know in 100 lifetimes. All continue to challenge the official story. I don't believe it's their intention to hurt survivors, family members of those killed, first responders, or anyone who has suffered because of what happened that day. My late husband was an engineer for 40 years before he retired. 27 of them spent in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. While in Vietnam, it was his job to blow up buildings and bridges. When John first saw videos of Building 7 in slow motion, with post smoke so perfectly lined up by floor, the first thing he said was, "That's controlled demolition." He was right. Building 7 didn't just fall down from any fire. It was pre-wired into controlled demolition, something that takes days, sometimes weeks of planning. One has to take time to watch a slow motion film of that building collapsing. And of course, there's this link on there too, which is Building WTC 7 Did Not Collapse from Fire by Dr. Leroy Huston. And I can tell you this too. I remember that one video documentary by PBS. Okay, PBS, Rebuilding America. And if you go into like the 10th chapter of 15 of that episode, it had Larry Silverstein on there talking about they lost a lot of lives, lost several lot of lives, and they got the phone call. They said pull it. When they pull it, the buildings came down. If you watch that, and watched it before, because even demolition men were at the site. They go, we're going to pull down 4, 5, and 6, and pulling down means bring the buildings down. So they give you context clue what pull it means. And it was funny because the History Channel did one on conspiracy theories in reference to Building 7. And they said, oh, well, it's about clearing people out. So that's why I tell folks, don't watch everything the History Channel say it's true. Okay? Don't fall for it. Observe responsibly. I will proceed here. On September 6, 2011, at the University of Alaska Fairbanks Chapel Auditorium, Dr. Leroy Huston presented the findings and conclusions he read in his team. September 27, 2015 progress report. The draft report of the study will be published later in the fall. A 6-week public comment period will follow the release of the draft reports, allowing for input from public and the engineering community. The final report, which will incorporate constructive comments and will be vetted by peer reviewers. Then it will be published in early 2018. More information about this two-year computer modeling and study of the WCT7 can be found at this website. You can see it for yourself. I am going to post this on my footnotes on Spreaker.com, so check it out. And there's another site here, 16 Facts, 16 Years about 9/11. That no longer conspiracy theory. You can read that too. But the truth prevails. It always does. Even those within the field of academia are coming forward in this issue, which seems to become more obvious every single year. One of them, Professor Lynn Margulis, in the Department of Geosciences at University of Massachusetts, whose research has led her to believe that all three buildings were destroyed by carefully planned, orchestrated, and executed controlled demolition. As for my contribution to hurting any family member from that day, or any first responders, such an accusation hurts me deeply. So many first responders have died from being exposed to the debris. So many have cancer. And another thing, too, is called World Trade Center cough. Please, folks, look this up. I know, even though Alex Jones did a video called Truth Rising, but it has merit. So don't just focus on the person, focus on the information. It was very, very powerful. And I'll continue here. Every time I run about about one of these events, like the fact that FDR wanted the Japanese to strike first and willingly sacrifice more than 2,400 Americans at Pearl Harbor, my heart just breaks. It took 16 years, but through the course, the truth finally came out about Pearl Harbor. The lady who sent me the aforementioned email seemed to be relying on a few individuals for her beliefs about what happened that day. There are many witnesses to that day, but it is science that proves evidence that can be sustained in a court of law. Pilots for 9/11 Truth is an organization of aviation professionals and pilots throughout the globe who gather together for one purpose. We are committed to seeking the truth surrounding the events on the 9/11 of September 2001. Our main focus concentrates on the 4 flights, maneuvers performed, and the reported pilots. We're going to accept the 9/11 Commission report, and a commission immediately set up to fail, according to the chairman himself, nor hypothesis as a satisfactory explanation for the continued gross violation of the United States Constitution being committed by government agencies and the sacrifice every American has made and continue to make, some more than others. We stand with numerous other growing organizations of firefighters, medical professionals, lawyers, scholars, military officers, veterans, religious and political leaders, alongside survivors, family members of victims, family members of soldiers who have made the ultimate sacrifice, including many of the Ground Zero workers who are now ill or have passed away, when we ask for a true, new independent investigation into the events of 9/11. There are family members who want the truth, who don't feel like they have gotten the truth. Are they to be victimized and pillarized all over again by those who believe the government story? The hard questions have never been answered. The American people are fed one lie after another and believe them. To even begin to believe that certain individuals and rogue elements within the U.S. government could be responsible for slaughtering 3,000 people is just too much for most Americans. It just can't be true. Let us grieve and move on, because that's where safety lies. Are they all conspiracy nuts, all Bush haters, or normal everyday people in their profession whose professional eyes see what you and may not? 60 structural engineers cite evidence for controlled demolition. All these links are in here, so check it out. The rapid breakup of the robust structures appear to defy the laws of physics. AE 9/11 Truth engineers say 50 years of structural design experience informed the view of Santa Rosa, California, licensed structural engineer Bob Burkos, PE, who maintains that the government collapse theories defy the laws of mechanics, conservation of energy, and known structural future behavior. And If in the official collapse, where the kinetic energy of motion of the falling debris would have been largely absorbed by the existing structure, bending and twisting metal components, breaking up 220 acres on concrete floors. To accomplish all this while achieving a nearly free-fall collapse is simply not physically possible, says Mason. There is not sufficient energy available for this massively structure just to crumble away at a near free-fall acceleration would have required immense amounts of explosive energy. If you feel we the people and all survivors, family members, and first responders, all who have suffered deserve the truth, I urge you to give up your personal time. Look up the links below and sign a petition. It will take only one member of House of Representatives to get the bill into the system. What if it was your loved one that day and no one cared anymore? And it's very interesting. There's a lot of links on here too. So definitely support this. And I did sign this petition, if I'm correct. I did sign it. And it's real good stuff. Some links on here you can check out. Lawyers and families file petition for a grand jury investigation. 9/11's father seeks justice. Former NIST employee Peter Cashman along with McIlvaine on video. Friday, May 11th, nationwide call-in day. Oh, that'd be exciting. 9/11 support Bobbly McIlvaine Act. You can send a petition. Take your time to read the evidence section. We, those loved ones who were killed in the events of September 11, 2001, join in support in opening a new and truly independent investigation into the destruction of the World Trade Center towers and Building 7. For 16 long years, we have waited for truth and justice. During this time, an abundance of evidence has been gathered that casts serious doubt on the official explanation for the destruction of these three skyscrapers. We therefore call upon the U.S. Congress to enact Bobbly McIlvaine World Trade Center Investigation Act immediately. Only by conducting an open and honest investigation will the millions of people affected by this tragedy finally have the truth they deserve. Those responsible for protecting the lives of cover-up are counting on you to do nothing. Just like OKC, TW Flight 800, and Pearl Harbor, the guilty believe they can wait out till family members either gave up or died of old age. Or we're going to let that happen. There's more important links down here. Check it out. And I say, do it, folks. Sign these petitions. Call out these sons of bitches in Congress. I declared it happened September 11th, a New World Order agenda since September 14, 2001. I did a signature on my email, and I held it for 5 years. It said, death to terrorism, corruption, New World Order, so we can ensure true peace, security, and spiritual prosperity. And I got many of my family members, okay, and friends of mine thought I was nuts. Not anymore. They thanked me. They thanked me for not giving in, because that's what the truth's about. That's why I tell these bastards, I tell people, the sons of bitches' biggest mistakes of the new millennium was 9/11 and the murder of William Cooper. Two biggest blunders. It's going to backfire. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but we can make this occur, make this a reality. This is not the 1960s anymore. Now with technology, we can take advantage of it, utilize it. Use the enemy's tools on the mainstream social media sites. You know what I'm talking about. Spread the word like fire. Because a lot of beautiful people were murdered. Doesn't matter what their belief system is, where they come from, what their creed was. A lot of folks were murdered. Even happened at the Pentagon too. And now, look at this whole war on terror. It's nothing more than a war with ourselves, supporting a police state. Homeland Security still doing surplus of supplies to our local police departments wearing military gear, full garb. That's okay? I think it's unacceptable because that's a bribe that's waiting to happen. You got sheriffs now around the country are federalized. They're not constitutional sheriffs. They're federalized Uncle Toms and Aunt Jemimas, a la Sheriff Scott Israel from Broward County. Jeff Lombardo from Las Vegas. Those are two examples. All you gotta do, find out, see if their sheriff is a member of Homeland Security. Look at their damn bios. Ask them questions on it. If they say yes, call them out. Because they're part of the problem. They're the ones who are exercising treason. Just it's conspiracy to treason, to be exact. I'm gonna actually definitely gonna sign a petition once again. Hopefully, I get a letter from my congressman. See if he has the courage to support it. If he doesn't, I'm gonna call his ass out. I don't care. Ted Deutsch, you already ticked me off enough. I want to see how much gusto you got on this particular matter. As for everyone else, it doesn't matter if they're Republicans or Democrats, Independents, etc. If they don't support it, they be considered the enemy of the state, of our constitutional republic. And they don't care who they ignore, rather, regardless of your color, creed, national origin, sexual orientation, etc. And I'll be right back. Alright. So next one we'll be talking about here actually came out today as well from FloridaMarijuana.net. Doctor that ordered homegrown sent a letter from the state of Florida. Let's see what it had to say here. This is by Robert Roundtree. In is a story first broke by Democrat of Florida politics, Barry Gordon, and his practice. Compassionate care clinics were sent a letter by the state of Florida. You'll never guess what it is over. Clerical errors? Clerical errors there appear to be fault of the department's faulty programming later. The article halfway admit, through correspondence, Dr. Barry Gordon is a doctor who recommended John Render cultivate his own cannabis. John Render recently won a lawsuit. He is to be able to grow at his own home. The lawsuit is awaiting appeal by the Department of Health. He has also been a frequent guest of the Marijuana Solution podcast. He is one of the most outspoken medical marijuana doctors in Florida, regularly speaking out at public hearings and at industry events about the problem the Florida medical program faces. According to the article, Frank DeLuca told Florida Politics, you should know that for the first time in 18 months, the OMMU sent a warning email to Dr. Gordon, which contained a protective private patient information, unredacted, alleging mistakes made in entering patients into the registry. It is further reported that Dr. Gordon said, as I testified in Render's lawsuit against the state, he added, there have been numerous bug outages, missing orders, and data that was completely entered that disappeared due to what was believed to be shoddy coding. This is not a surprise to anyone who has been following the birth of what's known as the Office of Medical Marijuana Use. So the department has been plagued with poorly developed software delays in issuing cards, mounting lawsuits, and a no-can-do attitude when it comes to issuing new licenses. Deputy Director of Florida Medical Marijuana Use, Courtney Kupla, said in a response to an email chain between Florida Politics and Dr. Gordon, the functionality related to being unable to save without providing a complete Social Security number is relatively new. The following emails were published in an original article unless other doctors receive letters of a similar nature. This appears to be intimidation. Dr. Barry Gordon is the only physician in the state that is known to have put into registry that a patient needs to be able to grow their own cannabis, and it's a continually developing story that will keep you the day on. So, folks, go if you're not a subscriber to this website, please do so. All right. And it's very interesting, too, with this. And it says the emails are all in here, too, about emails no way related to original litigation, a communication case below the official general office, the functionality related to being unable to save without providing. You can see it's almost the same thing. They want to do all this complete Social Security stuff. Big Brother, Miss Ramirez, I wrote this down here for that. So, a lot of interesting stuff here is happening, so definitely check it out. This is pretty absurd as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? You have the natural right to grow cannabis in your own property, guaranteed under Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution, entitled Basic Rights. But all these dodo brains don't comprehend. They think the state knows best, and these people still buy government knows best mentality. I'm not saying all, but still a great amount. I'm not going to be culturally biased, but I do find it's pretty absurd. Hey, there's no victim, there's no crime. So you know what? Support this doctor. Fight for what's right. There's no victim. There's no crime. Even if you become a juror of this case, follow your conscience. If you believe if there's some illegal laws and so forth and poorly implemented, you have the courage to say not guilty. Support this doctor because look, this is people have been voting on this to make it a regular reality. In my opinion, and in good faith, it shouldn't be that a constitutional amendment. That's why it's under miscellaneous. But you know what I say? Let it grow. If you sell it to minors, sell it to minors. And that's a whole different ballgame. But consensual adults, approved by doctors, and all that good stuff. So you know what? Make it happen. This is totally ridiculous. We got state knows best. All right, this one here came from Legal Insurrection yesterday. It says here, no, the NRA is not banning guns at its convention. It's by Fuzzy Slipper. Came up late last night. Ban instituted by Secret Service covers only events attended by Secret Service protectees. Despite the knowledge that a growing number of Americans deem the media untrustworthy and consider much of what is reported as fake news and leftist, the mainstream media doesn't seem to help themselves. They are whipping themselves into a frenzy over an NRA flyer and further exploiting the Parkland shooter in their attempt to create a sense of what feverishly and falsely claimed the NRA's hypocrisy. The latest unfold outrage, but perpetually outrage, is captured on the following headlines from Huffington Post. NRA convention bans guns to protect Mike Pence. Parkland survivors' jaws drop from the Hill. Parkland survivors call out NRA for banning guns at conventions. From Think Progress, Parkland survivors cry hypocrisy after NRA banned guns during Pence speech. From the Daily Beast, Parkland survivors calls out NRA for gun bans. Of course, attendees of NRA free speech, check guns at the door, and guns will make you safer. Don't allow no guns allowed around Trump. There's a lot of links on here, Violence Policy Center, and all that good stuff. The problem is not the NRA banning guns; it's the Secret Service, and they're doing so only during appearances of Secret Service protectees. It is noted clearly at the top of the slide that purportedly point to NRA hypocrisy. Hall A3 is under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Secret Service during the Leadership Forum. There's an ironic twist of ironic irony. The Parkland survivor hailed as calling out the NRA actually tweeted the real reason that guns are not permitted at the Leadership Conference featuring Secret Service protecting Vice President Mike Pence. The NRA has evolved into such a hilarious parody of itself. That's Karen Minkaski. He is in high school. So he has an excuse. The media eager to destroy the NRA, even at the cost of its own credibility and professionalism, does not. Even Huffington Post article cited above includes the following. The NRA posted the restrictions a requirement of the Secret Service on their website, announcing the conference emphasis added they know it's not the NRA, but they also know that Secret Service banned guns during President and VP appearances, or Secret Service does its job, aren't nearly as clickbaity as falsely demonizing the NRA. Of course, town hall reports today, a few anti-gun organizations and Associated Press sent out tweets claiming that the NRA, National Rifle Association, has supposedly banned firearms and ammunition from its annual meeting. However, one small problem is fake news. The NRA doesn't ban these things. The Secret Service did during President Trump's speech. People were otherwise allowed to carry weapons throughout the event. Once again, there are Secret Service rules. The NRA does not impose these rules anywhere at the convention. There's links in there you can look for yourselves. And of course, Charles C. Cook made that report. That NRA foreign policy, excluding the appearance of the president and vice president whose security falls under Secret Service purview, can be found on his website. And of course, here during the 2018 annual meetings and exhibits, lawfully carry firearms will be permitted in the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center and the Omni Dallas Hotel in accordance with Texas law. When you're carrying a firearm, remember to follow federal, state, and local laws. Specific events involving Secret Service protectees are noted as such on the NRA convention site. Due to the attendance of Vice President of the United States, the U.S. Secret Service will be responsible for event security at the NRA-ILA Leadership Forum. As a result, firearms and firearm accessories, knives, or weapons of any kind will be prohibited in the forum prior to and during his attendance. These rules are backed up by Dana Loesch, who is in attendance and carrying. This is a lie. I've been carrying since I got here yesterday. So Dana Loesch wrote that Secret Service controls the speech. We went through this nonsense last year with you people. So meanwhile, since the Parkland shooting, NRA posts biggest fundraising haul in 20 years. The NRA should probably thank the mainstream media because the more fake news they churn out, the worse they look and the better the NRA looks. So, just to make that all clear, you are allowed to carry firearms to this event unless there's Secret Service protectees. It's like the president, the vice president, and all that. Then in a certain area, you're not allowed to carry these certain weapons. That's just their rules, not the National Rifle Association. So all you drama queens out there, put a lid on it. I don't buy your rhetoric. That's why I laugh at you clowns. Okay? I laugh at these people. It really doesn't get my goat. It's pathetic. And people still going to buy it today? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, you know what? Always verify. Don't follow the hype. Plain and simple. All right, finally, we're going to do one here. Came out today. Activist Post. And Activist Post is always good. I always like the stuff. Why We Have a Surveillance State by Bill Frieza. Came out today. And as it reads, it is an inevitable consequence of prevailing governing philosophy. Gentlemen that did not read each other's mail. Henry Stimson, Secretary of State, 1929. I was upbraided recently by a dear friend for my frequent praise of Outcast inventor Peter Thiel over Dale's involvement with the big data company Palantir. He forwarded me a Bloomberg article titled Peter Thiel's data mining company is using war terror to attract citizens. Adding, really scary, not good for democracy, a better version of Stasis filing system and way cheaper and more efficient. Increasingly, we live under the kind of comprehensive surveillance predicted by science fiction writers. But Planeter is just an armed merchant, not the architect of a brave new world. Like gun manufacturers, its products can be used for good or evil. I have always believed that moral responsibility lies in wielder of weapons, not the manufacturer. It's often expressed as guns don't kill people, people kill people. I have to agree on that. That's by government, right? Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's interesting here on Activist Post. Man sentenced to 8 months in prison after flipping off a red light camera. This happened in Yorkshire, England. Oh, they're offended. How dare you offend us? I'm so sensitive. So they got the sensitive level in Britain. A bunch of governmental wanks out there as well, right? All right, continue on here. Peter Thiel's choice to become an armed merchant rather than invest his considerable talents and fortune elsewhere is a fair question, given his libertarian leanings. I have no insight into the answer. I would guess that he founded Palantir as an act of patriotism since 9/11, and its metastasized following the money cash can be being mothers in the milk of the state, something the celebrated Alexander Hamilton deeply understood. Oh, hail to Hamiltonism. Surveillance is not a problem, but it's a symptom. The real threat to a republic, however, lies not in the weapons available, but in the limited and unaccountable bureaucracy in Washington that deploys them at both home and abroad. Having broken free of unconstitutional constraints, America's political class now directs an all-powerful state that naturally adopts every tool technology has to offer. Because of a prevailing governing philosophy acknowledges no limits to the doing of good or to the darting of evil, any means necessary may be employed as long as worthy ends can be plausibly asserted. Evil must be discouraged, taxed, or outlawed, must be encouraged, subsidized, or made mandatory. This progressive government mission must be implemented in the public square, if the marketplace, in our educational institutions around the world, and in our homes, until all forms of social justice are eliminated. To be sure, such an expansive impulse is not unique. The economists felt the same way from the 1920s to the 80s as did the fascists through the 1930s and 40s, alarmingly make a recent comeback, but the sustained march of the progressive movement from Woodrow Wilson's cartelization of the economy to support his war to end all wars, to FDR's New Deal, to LBJ's Great Society, to spectacle of Obamacare outlasting all other pretenders. Progressivism has fueled a centralization of American power whose growth and global reach is unparalleled in human history. The end result is a multi-headed leviathan that scoffs at the quaint notion that the federal government should be limited to the 17 powers of enumerated in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. Examples of democracy depends on surveillance abound. Since the passage of the 16th Amendment, we learned to live with an Internal Revenue Service against which citizens have no right to privacy, no right to remain silent, no presumption of innocence. It is the most invasive tax system ever devised, insists on comprehensive intrusion into every citizen's financial life, dragooning every employer, banker, broker, and financial intermediary into an unpaid spy network that makes Planeta look like a rank amateur. Government schools begin educating us in submission to this kind of blanket surveillance as the price we pay for a civilized society long as before computers played a role. As Congress increasingly abdicated regulatory powers to the agency of the executive branch, a parallel judicial system emerged where administrative laws, courts as legislators, prosecutors, police, judge, and jury in matters touching every aspect of our lives and businesses. This system, too, has a voracious appetite for information. How else to ensure that its tens of thousands of mandates, regulations, prohibitions, guidance, edicts, and reporting requirements are strictly obeyed? The opportunity to manipulate its shadow invites a degree of lobbying and influencing, peddling that would make the Grant administration blush. Our national government was once unique in having only two crimes over which it claimed jurisdiction: treason and counterfeiting. This was due to the Federalist architecture our founders devised, reserving ordinary people, police, powers for the states, but such divisions of power did not hold. Our central government has since created a vast and complex criminal code with laws too numerous to count. This includes weaponized vagaries like conspiracy, wire fraud, and obstruction of justice that ensure crimes can be manufactured after the exhaustive investigations that have none been committed. This empowered a cabal of politicized federal prosecutors that can selectively indict anyone they please, using legal thuggery to threaten targets with bankruptcy to better extract plea bargains, which is why 90% of their cases never go to trial. These inquisitors also have the power to compel third parties to surrender their vast troves of information that agents can comb through, searching for anything that can be construed as a crime, even if these factions bear no relations to charges for which the target was originally indicted. So I disagree that the comprehensive and escapable surveillance is not good for democracy. It is an inevitable consequence of democracy only recently empowered by the advent of big data and total intercorrectness. Our founders, rightfully fearful of democracy, doing everything they could do to make sure it never took root. Their efforts to preserve our liberty and our property and our privacy failed, and we're paying the price. And Bob Friesa, as it was originally came back, was sourced on Foundations of Economic Education, fee.org, and you know what? He's right. That's why you always got to see these things, and we are paying the price. What happens, folks, when you leave all your security eggs in one area of information, just blab it all out, including our sperm count on the internet, it's going to backfire. It's a real shame. So there's ways of countering that. Lots of multiple ways of making it, countering. And you know what? Even a lot of us, believe it or not, with the birth certificates and all that, we've been on file since the day we were born. Even my late step-grandfather who served in Korea said that. But we inherit this mess, many of us. But there's all ways of countering it. They can't say there's nothing you can do. If you're going to believe in that, have that mindset, you're one of those guys saying, this day and age, building up to this state is patriotic. That is called a personal entrapment. Well, as always, remember, all these high-tech gadgets has a flaw. That's the art. That's the scientific law. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you're something that's interesting you may want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondences with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network. Donate money to freedomsnetwork.com because if they don't get it at a certain time, their site is being shut down. So support these other alternative social media sites. That'd be greatly appreciated. Minds.com, FutureNet.club. Hit me at patreon.com/LookLuck3 with 3 eyes. If you want to be a donor, support and all that, that'd be great. And then you can hit me at Gab at gab.ai. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com, or to you cryptic ones, we got a Proton Mail account, LokiLuck03 at ProtonMail.com. And I will apologize to my YouTube subscribers on the last episode I've done called Renegade Sheriff. And I forgot, I got a new computer, so I made some errors. I made an error on not releasing it on there, and I'm trying to work on it. If not, hit Spreaker on that episode. That would be fantastic, okay? All right, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. May your guardian spirits be with you.